Hello, this is Manesh Patel from the EII Capital Group. Today is July 17, 2011. This is our weekly Ichimoku analysis for the global markets where we cover everything from the US to Europe to Asia. Okay, this is our normal disclaimer to state this is for educational use only. All charts are either in Thinkorswim, TradeStation, or freestockcharts.com. Here are my contact details at mpatel at eiicapital.com. You can follow us on Twitter at Ichimoku Trading, or you can access any of our free videos at ichimokutrade.com. Okay, so we got a lot to cover, so let's begin with all our global markets. Remember, looking at the weekly time frame, because we want to kind of get a long-term view of the markets and where they're at. Remember, Frankfurt markets being probably the most bullish one out in Europe. We always start off with Europe and then move forward. So if you look here, we got to go to the weekly time frame here. Let's just enlarge it so everyone can see it a little more better. You could see that basically we're just going sideways right now in a big range. The resistance level is going to be basically 7,600 and the support level is going to be 7,000. So we're just going sideways more and more and more. The more sideways we go, the more the bears are starting to take over and the bulls are losing. So the bulls really have a limited number of time to kind of take off and take control of things. I would say about 6 more weeks to start taking control of things. If they don't, then this thing's automatically going to start getting a bearish tilt. But remember, this Frankfurt is probably the most bullish of all the markets out there. We've been talking about doing pairs trading where you go long the DAX in the German market and go short the Paris market because that's weak compared to all of the major countries out in Europe. If you look at the London market, it's just going chop going sideways. Resistance levels are basically going to be at 6,100 and support level is going to be basically at 5,600. So it's just going sideways, but a little weaker than the German market, but still very strong as far as because it's above the cloud. If you look at Paris, Paris is basically in the cloud now, indicating consolidation. Major support level is going to be 3,700, and resistance is going to be around 3,950. But you could see that Paris is very weak compared to the German market because it's right in the clouds. Okay, so let's go for the other countries here in Europe. If you look at Israel, Israel's in the cloud too. It's got a little more to go pop out to the bottom, but it's also in the cloud, so it's consolidating. So there's nothing really there. As far as Turkey is concerned, it's bearish sentiment right now. But the future cloud is still bullish, so it really needs to sit there and move sideways somewhat or start pushing downwards. If it breaks 55.50 for this iShares ETF, then a Turkish market is definitely going to start a trend to the bottom side. So be very careful there. Stockholm really just consolidating, nothing really there going on at all. So it's just that's a dead market right now. Russia still consolidating. Remember, it's on a major pullback. If it breaks 30.10 on this iShare ETF, then it's going to sit there and resume its bullish trend. But right now, it's just consolidating completely. The more it consolidates, the more bullish momentum is taken away. Okay, so be very careful there. South Africa, just concentrating, just going sideways, so really doing nothing at all. So nothing there at all. Let's go over to Asia and go to China. If you go to China, it had a huge movement up the last couple of weeks. However, it's still not bullish at all. It's still going sideways. It's got to break basically 2,900 level to start going into a bullish trend. If it breaks below 2650, then there's possibility of a bearish trend. But right now, this thing's just going sideways, and it looks like it's going to do that for probably about a month or so. Hong Kong market, if you look towards it, it's got more of a bearish tilt now. It's below the cloud and trying to set up to go lower. So this thing can start a bearish trend very soon. So definitely look for that moving forward. Tokyo, look at the Tokyo market, amazing after the earthquake. It's poking its head out of the cloud here the week before. Last week it's a little below here, but it's holding its ground. If it actually could break 10,250, this thing can sit there and start a bullish trend, breaking out of the cloud and start moving upwards. So, it's going to be interesting. Remember, before the earthquake, We were talking about the Nikkei market basically being the strongest out in Asia and possibly starting a bullish trend, very strong this week. And it looks like it may sit there and start getting that momentum again. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next couple of weeks. And it may sit there and start making that movement going forward. So just be patient and wait. And that could be the potential market to go up. Bombay market, if you look at the Indian market, really it's just going sideways right now. It's got the major resistance level basically is 19,750, and major support level right now is about 18,000. It's just going sideways. The more sideways it goes, the more bearish it's starting to become. So it's got to be very, very careful there. But it is starting to break down slowly with time. Sydney, Australian market, you could see that basically closed below the cloud, a little more pushed down below 4,500. This thing's going to start a bearish trend, so be very careful as far as Australia is concerned. Okay. Um, Oops, we forgot Korea. If you look at Korea, Korea is still very strong bullish, as you could see from the markets right now. If it actually breaks 2250, this thing can start a bullish trend. So definitely keep your eye on the Korean market as being very strong. You can see this is probably the strongest of all the Asian markets right now. So definitely keep an eye on Korean market as a potential of a huge upside as far as bullish is concerned. Let's go over to the Americas. If you do that, let's go to Mexico. Mexico is just going sideways, so there's nothing really going on there at all. Let's go down to Brazil. Brazil, remember we've been talking about bearish trend. It's starting to do that. It broke below 60,000 and it's starting to go down. So this thing is starting its bearish trend going downwards. So people in Brazil, you had a bubble. Be careful because this thing's going down, 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 and who knows how far this is going to go down. But the next level you got is about 57,500. But remember, you had a bubble for a while, so it's about to maybe bust. So be very careful there. Uh, Here, Venezuela, sorry, Colombia. If you look at Colombia, it's in the cloud now. Huge movement below the Cajuns in right now, so that's not good. So this is consolidating as far as the weekly is concerned, but it's starting to get a bearish tilt now because it broke out of this little consolidation pattern to the downside. Okay, and then the Canadian market, if you look at it here, it's undergone a major pullback of this huge move upwards. Major resistance level is 13,500, and major support level is going to be around 12,500. But it does have a little more bearish tilt unless it breaks 13,500. Okay, so let's go to the US markets. Remember, over here to your left hand side, you have your weekly time frame. To the right hand side, you have your daily time frame. On the US markets, the Dow's being the strongest of all of them. And if you look on the weekly time frame, really doing nothing right now. It's got to sit there and hold this resist support level of 12,174. If it does, then it's going to be very strong. But right now, it could either consolidate or go up. It's up to it what it wants to do. But 12,250, 245 is its major support level. And if it could sit there and break 12,800, this thing's going to start trending again. Next couple of days to weeks are going to be interesting to see what happens. But remember, it is summer where there's huge volatility, huge swings. So this thing could just go back and forth, and that's what you have to look for. The ES was weaker than the Dow, and you could see that here from the daily time frame, where it's actually touching its major support of 13,000 here. And we've been twittering on this one to the minor levels and stuff like that. But you could see as far as the daily is concerned, it's just consolidating. And you could see that also from here. So remember, pairs trade we've been talking about at the very beginning of the year is going long the Dow and shorting basically the NASDAQ or the S&P 500. Let's go look at the NASDAQ real fast. If you look at the NASDAQ, a little more stronger than the ES now, as you could see here from the daily time frame. This is probably a little more stronger now. Still weak compared to the Dow, but it's got a support level at 2297 and resistance level is going to be 2368. But this is stronger than the S&P right now, so it's getting interesting to see what happens. But this huge movement here kind of set the Nasdaq to kind of overpower the S&P a little right there. But you know, you don't know how long that's going to be maintained. But still, the Dow is still strong. So if you're going to enter any bullish stock trades, definitely keep to the Dow side as much as possible as you can. And then lastly, the Russell futures. If you look at the Russell, major support is going to be at 814 and major resistance is going to be at 837. That's it for this week. I hope you enjoy it. See you next week.